Good afternoon, everybody. It is 5:01 Monday, January 13th, 2025. We're going to start our regularly scheduled Swain County Board of Education meeting, and we'll begin with our special guests. So our best and then some.
We don't have any best and then some today because we were out of school, and there is so much conversation and concern about driveway safety right now. So we are going to move them until February when there will not be any more snow.
Fingers crossed.
Because it stops snowing after January, right?
Right.
And instead, and it might not be perfectly in order, but I think if it would please you and the board, let's go ahead and have our Special Olympics presentation, because then those two students can choose to not be part of the remainder of the meeting if they want to. Is that fair enough?
That sounds
Is that
good.
okay? Okay. So Ms. Hyatt, bring your special guests.
Hey, I'm Lee. I'm a special ed teacher here at Swain County, and I've been teaching special ed for about a little over 27 years, and I've been involved in Special Olympics for a little over 30 years. And for the last 10, 11 years, I guess I've been the local coordinator for Special Olympics for Swain County, and we have visited lots of places, but the next 2 years, it's Swain County's turn to host. So August the 25th, we're going to be, not August, but April the 25th, we're going to be hosting Special Olympics at our stadium. So we are just here to kind of tell you a little bit about it. I brought my two guys here. They want to talk about their experience with Special Olympics. They've actually been going for a long time. I know we've been to Clay County, Jackson County, Graham County, several places we've visited, and they just wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about their experience and what it means to them to get to be a Special Olympic athlete. So, Nolan, you want to go first? Yes. This is Nolan Griggs.
My name is Nolan Griggs. I am a senior at Swain County High School. Today, I want to talk to you about Special Olympics. I have been going to Special Olympics for a lot of years. Two things that I do at Special Olympics are running and softball throw. I compete against each other athletes, and we win medals. We get medals for first, second, and third place. I like to stand in front of everyone when they give me my medal. I like when everyone is cheering for us. My favorite thing about Special Olympics is competing against everyone else. While people are there cheering so loud for us, there are so many people there. I am very excited about Special Olympics being at Swain County High School this year. I can't wait for everyone to be here. The day is so much fun. I hope that you will all come. Will come and be with us on that day. And I hope that you will support us as we host all the other counties that will be coming here on April 25th, 2025.
Hello, my name is Colton Jenkins. I am a sophomore at Swain County High School. I absolutely love going to the Special Olympics, and when Miss Hyatt told me that the Special Olympics would be in the Swain County this year, I felt so very excited. In this past, we had to get on a bus and go to another school this year. This year, we get to have to. I'm getting nervous. We get to have it at our high school, and that makes me so excited that everyone from all the other counties will be coming here. When I go to the Special Olympics, I run and compete in the softball throw. After we compete, we get medals, and everyone leaves with a winner. My favorite thing is how much fun the day is. Everyone enjoys it, and it's just a special day. Don't have to do with my schoolwork. At the beginning, all the athletes walk all around the track. Everyone cheers us on. someone also runs around the track with a torch. It is so fun. I am here today asking that you, not just you guys, everyone in the whole wide world, of course. I'm just us, you help us with this big day. We would also love to have each of you join us and cheer us on or even help us out as we compete and have this best day of the year. Do you have any questions for me?
What time was that starting?
Everyone should start arriving between around 9:30. Events start at 10. All the early stuff will happen like from 9:45 to 10. We'll have the opening ceremony. We'll do the torch run. And it's all the far west counties, so it'll be like Clay, Cherokee, Graham, Swain, Macon, Jackson, Cherokee Reservation, McCullough Boundary. So they're all invited to come. So far, we've had 5 out of 7 say that they will be here that day. So we're looking at anywhere from 150 to 175 athletes. So, Swain will be responsible for all the food for those athletes and their buddies. Everybody will have like a one-on-one buddy that gets them to their events. They also, we will buy all of our Swain athletes T-shirts. All their buddies will have T-shirts. Also, this is an opportunity for our high school students to get involved. I'll be working with the high school to find out, the students that can come and help with the events, set up the events. Like they said, we have runs. They'll have wheelchair walks. We'll have assisted walks and runs. There's a lot of students with a lot of different disabilities, a lot of varying disabilities that will be here. So it's just a really good day, and it's a really good learning opportunity for our high school students too. So, so if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. These two, they love the spotlight. So they've been traveling around with me, talking to people, and I've reached out to lots of businesses and organizations, and I know our community will pull together and help. We're very blessed to live here, but we wanted to let you guys know, and we hope that you can be there and help support us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nolan, we need to get you about 4 more years of eligibility, I
I
believe.
know, he's leaving.
You don't need to be leaving us.
You two, you're welcome to stay for the rest, but you also don't have to. Okay? It's up to you.
Thank you.
Okay? You can stay or you can go do something else now. Which would you prefer?
Are you getting out of Dodge?
Don't blame him. If I were to say that to them, they'd do the same thing, right?
Everybody but Turner can leave.
Mr. Carson said that everyone but Mike Turner can leave now.
I believe that takes us to the pledge and prayer, and then we'll
Does.
call the meeting.
Yes.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this setting. Thank you for this community. Lord, we thank you for the leadership that it holds. Thank you for the place that we live in this great state and most definitely this great country. We thank you for the freedoms that we hold. Lord, we thank you for our kids and their families. We thank you for our faculty and staff, and thank you for the whole district. What a blessing it is to be a Maroon Devil. And we ask you that you would be in the midst of our meeting tonight, that everything would be to honor you and move in your direction and your will for our school system. We do love you, and once again, we thank you for loving us. We ask all these things in your precious holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
5:11, I'll call the meeting to order. And the first item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions?
The agenda that you have in front of you is a little bit different than what we had sent out for the preliminary. I don't see or believe that there is anything to add to the agenda other than there might be the opportunity to add some action items based upon our conversation as we're going through the agenda, okay? And so with your permission, as we discuss these things, if you decide that you are prepared to vote on these items, then we can move them to action, and then I can make a recommendation from there. Or you can make a recommendation, either one, if that's appropriate. Is that okay? Okay?
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the acknowledgement that we may move something to action if necessary?
Motion.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor by show of hands. Agenda's approved. Next is discussion. And I believe we've done the Special Olympics.
Yes.
We have contracts.
We are in agreement then on the consent agenda as it stands?
Yes, motion to approve the consent agenda as well.
Did you intend to include that in there?
I intended to include that with the motion of the approval of the agenda is also the consent agenda. And I heard no objection for the record prior to the meeting
Okay.
starts. There was no need to bifurcate that.
All right. It's a beautiful word, bifurcate. You don't hear that every day. There are several contracts that I would like for us to be aware of, and it may provide the opportunity to approve one of them to a certain level. The first one is it pronounced Tiber or Tiber? Tiber Creek, and I'm going to ask for Miss Cook to come. I sent this to you earlier because we needed to go ahead and move on it, but I want to just refresh your memories, and if you have any questions, because this will take an official approval in open session tonight, okay?
So basically, we're looking to upgrade our aging infrastructure in the tech department that's running on a warranty, which this is going to include 3 new servers and a storage array. Basically, this will, we've worked with Tiber Creek before. They are on state contract. We do have multiple quotes, but we did not take it to bid. It is right over the $90,000 mark, but because they're on state contract, is why I think that we can go ahead and just move if that's okay with you. The fact that we're replacing this infrastructure the way we are is also going to allow us to reuse some of the equipment that we have to make a disaster recovery site somewhere else. And considering all that we've been through in the last few months with the hurricane and everything, that seemed timely, that we've wanted to do that for a while. So that's one of the reasons we're kind of trying to move forward so we can make sure we have that disaster recovery site as well in case something happens. Do you have any questions?
Do we have any virtual backup or cloud backup?
We do. So we already have a backup solution in place. As part of this, we actually evaluated a new backup because if we had went with a different type of product, a different proprietary infrastructure, we would have had to change backups. But we've been a longstanding customer of a product called Barracuda, and we have appliances on site as well as cloud backups. So we actually do both.
Will this have to be relocated when we build a new middle school, or will it go with the?
That's really a question for you guys. So it's the way our offices are now. We will bring this new equipment into our back office. We've got generator power and things like that already take care of that there. So if there is a choice that we need to move the central tech office, then this equipment would be moved at that time. So, and then the DR site right now is West Elementary. So we're going to evaluate if we want to stick with that as our disaster recovery site. Any other questions?
It's going to be something to consider. And moving that office and all of that equipment will come at expense. But right now, that's an unknown. Okay?
Is where you're at now, is it sufficient? I mean, is it?
It is. We've been there for 25 years. And the big thing is our fiber infrastructure for all the outlying buildings come into that central location. So we would need to work with a vendor to move that. That's probably the biggest expense. The expense of moving this equipment is just moving equipment. but the fiber infrastructure is where the money would lie.
Either way, it sounds like we need this.
Yeah, we're bumping up on the end of a warranty for the servers, and the storage is actually out of warranty, or it will be in April. And so, again, it's not equipment that's ready to be put in the trash or anything, so that's why I think it's still, we're gonna do a hard drive switch outs and some things like that and be able to use them again as DR side, so.
Any other questions? Ms. Cook, would you stick around for a little while so that we can talk about the cybersecurity incident?
Sure.
Because I've added that to the agenda just for information.
Okay.
Okay? All right, thank you. At our last meeting, I gave a contract to you just to look at, not to approve, and it was from Cartwheel. The intent of that is to provide a level of mental health support for students and also for staff. I sent that contract to our legal team, and John Henning has been working on that along with several other items, one which we'll talk about here in just a minute. Campbell Shatley Attorneys has been overwhelmed with work lately, particularly because one of their lead attorneys has had a significant illness in her family. She has not suffered from the illness but physically, but it has taken her out of the office, and it has slowed their work down. So that Cartwheel contract is not ready for your approval yet. I just wanted to keep you up to speed on that because I told you to be looking at it and hadn't given you any information since then. That will come back around. It may require, Mr. White, that I ask for a temporary approval pending open session so that we can go ahead and move forward with that. There are still some questions that we're working through on that, okay? Another contract that is available for looking at, but I would suggest not for final approval, is the contract with LS3P. Now, we voted, and the commissioners, if I'm not mistaken, have voted to approve LS3P as our architects for the middle school project. Emily and her group provided a contract for us. It's called an AIA contract. Just before Christmas, I sent that to our legal team, and again, John Henning is still working through all of the pieces of this with a fine-tooth comb. However, I would suggest, I think that we have given you a copy of that you would look, please. I believe it's at page number 23, where I have highlighted some items. I think that this is the most important element for you to see tonight. It has to do with their fees. We have been communicating with them, some would call it dickering with them, and have come to a point of resolution where, for all practical purposes, we have gotten what we have asked for. And that is, there is a cap at $40 million on their base percentage fee. And then after that, there is the opportunity to renegotiate the fee based on percentage. And I have never heard of an architecture firm that has been willing to do this. This puts us in a very good place to stay under budget, not knowing what the CMAR is going to cost us, because it says very plainly in the language that contingent upon the CMAR price, we can renegotiate with LS3P to stay where we need to stay. I think that this is an outstanding opportunity and offer from them. They have shown that they really want to do business with us. John Henning has reflected, I was on the phone with him just before this meeting, he has reflected that he is in agreement with my interpretation of this language. And he has said that if we can stay under a total of 10%, adding the cost of the architect and the CMAR, that we have done very, very well. Right now, I see the opportunity for us to stay under 10% very easily. Okay? Now, what I would ask, I believe that we have provided a resolution to you. John sent this to me this afternoon because he found that he was not going to be finished with all of the work on this in time for the meeting. And the resolution says that the board agrees that we're going to work with LS3P, that the final work on the contract is not completed by our attorney, and that the board chair and the finance officer have the opportunity to complete the negotiations on the contract and then have them approved by the board chair and the three of us with your all's agreement. Now, the one thing that's not going to change is the cost factor. That will not be adjusted. The only things that will be adjusted are the expectations of the two parties, primarily the expectations of LS3P. Our expectations won't change. Okay? Now, if you're not comfortable operating that way, that's fine, but we need to move on something as quickly as we can so that we can keep moving with LS3P. Okay? I feel comfortable with that. I don't know if you do or not.
When will our lawyer get to finalize it?
And I would assume, that's a dangerous word, that he'll have that done this week.
If it's that quick, I wouldn't mind waiting until it got finalized.
Okay? Is that the wish of the board? That's fine with me.
So let me just, for clarification, what this would be is potentially voting on something tonight to allow the contract to be in place with any further negotiations unsettled so far to be implemented later, at a later date.
We can do that, yes.
And, well, I just wanted to make sure that the two options, and RL said, well, we could just wait until the contract is finalized and then vote on it as a board, or we can vote tonight with the knowledge that contract details not to include the price in our expectations could be negotiated further.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to lay that out there.
The only piece that would not, if you approve of this, and you don't have to, the only piece of this that is not up for negotiation is the cost. Because I thought that piece was the most important to you at this point so that we could move forward. The rest of it is just agreement language. And I trust John Henning on that.
Right.
Does he have a gut feel for how far apart we are as far as working through Ts and Cs? Is it something he feels like there's 4 or 5 sticking points or 50?
I don't think that there are a lot. He didn't give me a number, Casey.
Yeah. So we're not really voting on accepting this, we're just voting on moving ahead.
That really is what the resolution says to me, yes. I think that if you wanted to, that you could allow for us to get the contract pieces together and approve that and move forward. And if you wanted us to bring the final contract to you in the finalized form for a subsequent final vote, we could do that, if that would make you feel, and I think that would make you feel more confident.
I'm okay with moving ahead with it.
Yeah, because this would just have.
Speed things up.
Designate LS3P as the project designer. with
Yes.
The contract to follow later.
Yes.
Just go ahead and say, yes, we want LS3P to do this.
Realistically, we're not switching horses.
No.
We
No.
don't have time to. right?
We don't.
Yeah. The only, I mean, you do just lose a tiny bit of leverage signing it, but I think we're there.
Okay.
Or I am.
I really feel like that LS3P has shown tremendous commitment to us, and their willingness to negotiate to this level has shown that, and even give us negotiating power for the final cost, even at this point. That's pretty significant. I'm comfortable.
Are you good with it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so when we get to action items, we could go ahead and approve this resolution.
Okay.
That would give us the opportunity to move forward like that, okay? Ms. Treadway has budget amendments. I believe that she gave you a document for that.
Good evening. You should have 3 documents from myself. One would be the budget to actual, the amendments, and then today I put on in front of you the budget amendment summary, just to kind of give you the overall highlights of what the amendments consist of. The first document I'm going to talk about is the budget to actual document. And all I want to do, on this document, it just shows what our budget is currently, what we have spent year-to-date, what we have outstanding in purchase orders, and what our remaining budget is. And right now, we are, as of December 31st, we're 6 months into our school year, and so we should be right at 50% of our budget. And so if you'll look down, we are well within that 50%, except for if you look at the federal programs or federal grants, we're at 70%. And that is primarily because we have now spent all of the remaining ESSER funds, mainly because of the HVAC project. So everything that we had budgeted for in ESSER had to be fully spent as of December 31st. So that looks like it's way ahead of schedule, but that's because that was a significant portion. That was over half of our total federal budget. Also, capital outlay, I'll explain that when we get to the budget amendments, but primarily those are some items that I had a budget for that one is for a school bus, yellow bus that the state pays for, but we received that yellow bus this month, so I had to go ahead and book the transaction. And then the other part is the remaining portion of our middle school HVAC project that I went ahead and budgeted for. So I'll have the budget amendment coming up. Other than that, we're, like I said, most of them are less than at 50%. So if you have any questions, and just for information, Casey, just to let you know, on here I present everything at a 2-digit purpose code because that is the level at which the board approves the budget. And I gave a description of what those the purpose code descriptions. Now for the budget amendments. For State Public School Fund, the overall increase is $241,755. Some of that is to adjust to the actual allotments. When we did the budget, we'd not gotten fully our actual allotments on some of our PRCs, so I adjusted those to the actual. That was around $6,000. But then we also got some new allotments, 046, which is for third grade bonuses. We received $13,791. And PRC 048, we received $26,488 for teacher performance bonuses. Those are for reading and math for 4th through 8th grade, and then also for CTE and advanced placement courses or exams. And then 062, that's $24,760. That was the allotment for our low wealth signing bonuses. So for our new teachers, we are allowed to give a signing bonus, and the state matches that 1-to-1 up to $1,000. And we did increase in the previous years we've been doing $1,500, and this year we did $2,000. So we did the 1,000 to 1,000, 1,000 local and 1,000 for the state. PRC 073, we received $15,000, and that's for school connectivity. PRC 078, we received $4,578 for digital literacy. PRC 083, we received $29,742 for CTE credentials. 085, that received $35,000 for literacy interventions. 088, we received $1,500 for feminine hygiene products. And PRC 230, that's a new PRC this year, and that was for hurricane relief and recovery. And we received $84,035, of which $26,355 is for child nutrition. For those days that we were closed due to the hurricane,
Child nutrition employees were continued to be paid, but we did not have any funds coming in from our reimbursement for meals because no meals were served. So the state allocated funding to fund those days for child nutrition. So that was $26,355. And then we received $57,500 for mental health services, which would be used on the Cartwheel contract that Mr. Sell has presented. That is it for State Public School Fund. Do y'all have any questions on State Public School Fund? For our federal grants, there was an overall increase of $23,357. We had additional funds for CTE of $2,559. And then we received our allotment for PRC 049, which is IDEA for preschool funds. That's for exceptional students in preschool of $20,798. For our capital projects, the overall increase is $541,834. $33,661 is a prior year carryover from last year for our Article 46 funds that the county had approved for the building for the concession stand. And so we had $33,000 that we had to rebudget in the current year because we're still not completed that project, but they had already approved the funds. Then we had to budget additional funds for the yellow bus. I had budgeted some funds, but I had to budget an additional $58,628 for the new school bus, which was a total cost of about $115,000. Yellow bus loan payments. So the state purchases the school buses, but we still on our books have to budget for the purchase of the bus as well as the payment on the loan. So our yellow bus loan payment amount, I had to increase by $79,431, but that's all paid by the state. We got conditional approval over the phone from the board for additional $10,000 for the activity bus conversion. We've taken a yellow bus and we're converting it into an additional activity bus for us, and we need an additional $10,000 because we needed a new transmission for that bus as well as some painting on that bus to get it repainted. And then the majority of the $541,000 is we're budgeting $311,094 out of our lottery funds, and that's from the repairs and renovation lottery funds that we've been receiving each year. Would like to, with your approval, use those funds for the balance of our middle school HVAC project. So we knew going into it that we weren't going to have enough ESSER funds to pay for the full cost of that. And so now we're to the point where we're paying the remainder of that locally. And so we're asking your approval as well as the county's approval to draw down $311,094 from lottery funds for that, for the balance of that. Additional $9,000 for alternative school furniture, which we already purchased at the beginning of the year because we needed furniture for their building. And then also I just had additional funds of $39,799 that I have put currently into a vehicle line because we're currently still talking about the leases for new vehicles for our fleet. So that's it for the capital outlay. Any questions on that? And then special revenue for our Fund 8, overall increase of $213,849. $31,609 are the additional funds that we need to budget in the current year for the technology purchase that Ms. Cook had discussed with you for the new server and the storage. And so we are breaking up that purchase into 2 fiscal years. However, we're going to have to book the full expense in the current year, but they're allowing us to pay a portion in this fiscal year and a portion next fiscal year. But we will need to increase the budget by $31,000 to budget for the total cost. What we'll do is we'll budget that and then we'll reduce the budget for next year by that same amount. So. Budgeting additional $90,000 that we received for the Youth at Heart grant. That's from the Great Smokies Health Foundation. Is that correct? Okay. That is the funding that will be used a portion of that for our mental health coordinator that we have hired. $85,000 we did receive from Nantahala Health Foundation for the after-school grants, so we're budgeting for that revenue of $85,000. And $28,260 additional funds for pre-K for teacher supplements. Up to this, so you know the state provides teacher supplements. However, they only fund for K-12. So we have been paying teacher supplements for pre-K teachers, but prior to this, we had funding from some COVID money for bonuses that we've been using. So now we'll need to start budgeting for that locally to continue to pay that. 40,000 additional funds that we received for the CTE grant from the Dogwood Trust. That grant was a total of $428,940, of which we received last year $268,000, and this is our second payment. So they'll do now annual payments of $40,000. So this is our second payment on that. $12,378 was also budgeted for the signing bonuses. So once again, where we budgeted the money that we received from the state for our signing bonuses, this is our match. I had budgeted some, but not enough because we've hired several new teachers. So that's the difference for those signing bonuses. None of this resulted in any change in our appropriation of fund balance, mainly because we'd already budgeted the full cost for after school, and then having received the $85,000 grant, that gave us back more money towards our fund balance, but it has taken care of all these other changes that we need to make. That's a lot. If y'all have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
So to tack on to what Stephanie was speaking of, 3 or 4 years ago, the state legislature began to provide funding to public school systems for repairs and renovations. I believe it has been somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 a year. I think the first year it was $300,000, and then it was $500,000 each year after that, and that is appropriated to the school systems quarterly, like they do some of the other funding that they do. Right now, if I am not mistaken, and Stephanie, please correct me on this, it seems to me that we have about $1.5 million sitting in that account in Raleigh. Now, in order to receive that funding, it has to be a combined effort or agreement between the Board of Education and the county commissioners, okay? And so I would like to ask tonight for you to give me permission, before you approve that we will use it for this, okay? Give me permission to go to the county commissioners and ask that we draw down $311,000, where's my number? $311,093.83 to pay for the completion of the HVAC at the middle school. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to automatically send a check to the company for that, because I believe, Tommy, that we are just on the cusp of being done with that. Everything is running. There are still some little adjustments that we're making, but we need to have some conversation with our attorney to see what level of accountability we can hold this company to, because it's taken them like 7 months longer than it was supposed to. Okay? Now, I don't know exactly what we can do for that, but I know that we have some funding that is held back in arrears that might be able to be part of that. We cannot penalize them. Legally, we can't approach it from that perspective, but there are other things that John says that we can do. So before we pay the final bill, we need to talk about what our options are on that. But tonight, we would like permission to go to the commissioners and request that we draw down $311,093.83 from the renovation and repair fund. Okay? And I want to go back to what Stephanie said. When we started this, we knew that it was going to cost us somewhere around $2.1 million, maybe a little more. We have paid 1.7 on that now, already out of ESSER 3 funding. This is all that is left, okay? It's not costing the citizens of Swain County a dime. This is all coming out of lottery funding, okay? So I would be asking in action items if you would give me permission to go to the commissioners and request that drawdown first, okay? You have any questions about that? Okay. One of the things that we need to put in place, we need to have going soon, is a topographical survey of the property where the middle school is going to send. I've been in contact with a company. It is a company that has done some of the surveying up there already. I got a response today while we were looking at the high school that they will be able to do that topographical survey for $7,000. I was expecting a significantly larger amount than that. Would you like for me to talk to other companies? I believe that this company works very well. Am I allowed to mention the name of it right now? I wouldn't. Or do you want me to look at it some more? This is a local company.
How quickly are they looking at getting it done?
I don't have that answer. From what I understand, Mr. White, they're one of the quicker organizations that you don't have to push to get things done as hard. That's my understanding. Do you want to have a conversation about that in closed session so that we can be more open about it?
Were you looking to have an action item on it this afternoon?
I would like to, but I am comfortable not. I just want you to know that I have done what I said I would do, and that was to look into it, but I am willing to go to other companies as well, other organizations.
Yeah, if we could, we'll have a
Okay.
quick closed session meeting just to get some of the information to the board, and then we'll go from there.
Since and if you're technically, because it's less than $10,000, the board doesn't have to approve. I can approve something up to $10,000 on my own,
This is just for transparency.
okay? I think it would be good for us to have a closed session conversation anyhow about some other items at the end that have to do with items like this, okay? And they are permitted in closed session, okay? Mr. Taylor asked that we work on positive image signs for Swain County schools. And I have spoken with each of the principals, and they are going to bring 2 designs that are student-created for us to look at, and then to move forward with having those posted in different places where the public can see them. I will have those in hand January 31st, and we'll bring them to you. Probably will present them to you by email first, and then we'll look at them at the next board meeting and go from there. I would suggest that we use all of them if they are appropriate, and that we rotate the signs some. Okay, there is a way that we can do that, but I followed through on that, okay? I've been asked about the gates and the safety, the fencing at the elementary schools. I have not had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Sutton about that. I did speak with Mr. Schuler, and that's where the greater concern was before we started this, and he has said since we put up the fences, they have had no indication of any vagrants, and they have had no paraphernalia or nothing else that's been left on the grounds for them to pick up. So that has worked. Now, the one thing that we're still working to become consistent on is getting the gates closed on Sunday night, because we're leaving them open over the weekends so that the public can have access to the track and to the play areas. That was a concern. Now, if you want us to close those gates on Friday evening and leave them closed over the weekend, we can do that. But in light of the fact that we haven't had any other issues, I think if we can get those gates closed on Sunday nights, and the sheriff's department's working with me on that, okay? I talked to Brian Kirkland about that again today. If we can get those closed on Sunday night, then we've protected our staff and our students from unauthorized individuals being on there when the staff comes in on Monday morning. And I think we've achieved what our goal has been. Do you have any questions or concerns?
When law enforcement locks that on Sunday night, do they go around the building just to see if there's any?
I'm sure that we could ask them to do that. I mean, that's just a hop, skip, and a jump for them to take care of. And Brian Kirkland has been and continues to be more than willing to work with us for anything. So I'm sure that we can make that happen.
And what time do we close them of the night through the week?
Tommy, what time do our custodians leave on weeknights?
It depends on what's going on in the building, that moves a little bit. But 6 at the earliest, and about 8:30. So that's a moving target a little bit, because if they have basketball practices or one way or another, they have to stay on the floor. They close, as they go out, they close. But typically, 6:30.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts, concerns, anyone?
We're just locking in manually, like with a master lock at this point.
Yes, and there's a key that's in a lockbox there that is accessible for emergency personnel. If I'm not mistaken, it has a top and a bottom lock, doesn't it? One for each, for fire and then for police. Okay. Another concern that you have brought to me is about the reading program at the elementary schools and making sure that we're providing adequate time and adequate support for our staff, because the trend is whenever you implement a new program that your scores go down as people begin to get used to the product that they're using. And so I've asked Katrina if she would reach out to our staff and actually ask them, how's it going and what do they need? And then we'll look at putting that in place.
So, good evening, by the way. We've done a lot of support for CKLA in our elementary schools. So we had our first PD at the end of the school year last year, so that they'd have over the summer to look at the materials and be ready to roll in the fall.
What's a PD?
I'm sorry, professional development.
Okay.
I'm sorry, stop me if I.
No, I know it's acronym.
I know, yeah, stop me if I do that. We had our second professional development, our follow-up professional development in October, so that we were able to, we gave them a little time to work on it in their classrooms, and then came back and said, okay, what do you need? The people came from Amplify, which is the company that we get CKLA from, and helped them answer a lot of questions and get them going. We've taken a group of 3 through 5 teachers to Macon County. Macon County is in their second year of implementation there. And so we took them over there to see where they were and how they were doing things. And the overall consensus coming back from that trip was, we're in the same place they are. And they felt so relieved, because they felt like they were behind, but they really weren't. And so they had that confirmation. We tried to take our K2 people over before Christmas, and there was so much sickness in the schools and trying to get coverage, we couldn't. So we've got a new date scheduled for that for February the 10th, so they can go see and have that same opportunity. We have our wonderful early literacy specialist, which is funded by the state, and that is Kelly Smith, and she is able to work K-5 literacy, everything about literacy. And she's able to go into classrooms and model, and go into classrooms and observe and say, hey, have you thought about this, and help the teachers. She's great about saying, hey, Trina, they need such and such here. She is my eyes on the ground in that area, and she's wonderful. And we've been working well together. She and I and each elementary principal do a literacy walkthrough together once a quarter. And this last one that we did before Christmas, I was so pleased with our staff and where they were with CKLA. I just was like, oh my gosh, the difference from the beginning of the year to now. We had a few concerns, but not many, and the principals were right there, so we were able to talk about that when we come out, and they're able to go in and address that. They still have 90 minutes of planning at the elementary schools, which we started when they were doing the letters training, the literacy training that they started. This would have been, 2 years ago? We're in the 3rd year of that. Most of our teachers are finished with that, just our newbies are taking that course now, but we still kept that planning time, so they're able to go in and still have that planning time, except for 1 day a week, which we had to share our AIG teacher this year between the two schools. And so that did cut back a little bit there. Let's see. We have, we did do a survey with one team member from each grade level at each school. And we had one team member that asked for a very small supply that they needed. That's no big deal. We can get that for them. It was like poster-sized Post-its. The biggest thing that I came away with from their comments was that they just need time in their schedule to teach it. The schedule is not necessarily set up to be able to have the full implementation this year. But next year, we're working on that already with our principals because they get frustrated that they can't get everything done that they need to get done. And so that's one way that we're working with that. I was trying to think what else. We did have, the grading. Grading is very different with CKLA than they've done in the past. So in the past, when they've taught reading, they would have maybe been teaching one standard at a time. So maybe we're working on inference or whatever. With CKLA, it's more comprehensive and it's working on lots of different standards within one passage. And so we're going to be working with them to help them try to come up with a better system for their grading. They're a little frustrated with that, so we're going to go in and support them with that and figure out a way. Some grade levels are great at it, and some are struggling, and so we want to go in there and support them with that. And the time that it takes to plan, it does take a little bit of time to plan. One thing is they're not familiar with the passages, so it's all brand new to them too. So it's taking them a little longer because they're having to read every bit of the passage because they don't know the story yet either. And so next year that will be alleviated when they know the story and know the material. That's going to help them make planning much easier and much faster. So getting through this first year and working out the kinks has just been, it's just like anything else new. You have to work through it and figure it all out. Any questions?
Trainee, you're saying they know how to use the program. You're saying they just need more time.
No, nobody that we asked said, I don't understand this, I don't know how to do this, I'm frustrated with even trying to get it to my kids. It's just the piece of planning is just overwhelming a little bit right now because they just have to read the whole passage every single time so they know it. And that will be alleviated as they go through. Yeah, CKLA is pretty scripted. So you just have to make sure you have all your pieces in place, but it tells you what to say and tells you all the pieces that goes with it. So that it's a pretty easy program to pick up and go with as long as you've prepared ahead of time. Any questions?
They got 90-minute planning period.
Mm-hmm.
How long is their class? You said the classes wasn't long enough. Some of them said the classes weren't long. How long is their class period?
So they have 120 minutes most of them have 120 minutes for their ELA block. And that's divided up into some of it's CKLA, some of it's Letterland for our phonics program, some of it is intervention time. So it's broken down. So we're working on trying to steal some time here, there, and yonder and combining so that they'll have a little bit more time in their classroom next year. So we're working on that schedule. We've got to feed them. That's lunch causes a whole big problem when scheduling because you got to start with lunch because they have to eat.
Is there any concerns about how this year will roll out with testing for those like grades 3 through 5, I guess, because if they are struggling with the time to get everything.
Mm-hmm. And they are concerned about that, so they're supplementing in other ways. One thing that I sent out the other day was it's called ReadWorks, and it has passages that are more EOG-like, so that teachers can go in and find a correct level and let the kids read and then practice that EOG piece. And so they're trying to supplement in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is this correlated with the EOG?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very highly correlated. Yeah. We start our benchmark testing, well, we're supposed to start today, but hopefully we'll start Wednesday, probably be Thursday, because they're not going to test them the second they walk back in the door. But by the next school board meeting, I should have some benchmark data that we can share and see where we are from beginning of the year to now, and also from beginning of the year last year to mid of the year, and compare the 2 years.
I just think it'd be hard to appropriate more than 120 minutes for that.
It
Maybe
would,
next year,
it would
I
be
think.
hard. It would be
Just
hard,
gotta
but
figure
we'll,
out how to proportion it out.
yes, we are. Yes.
But you think it's gonna be successful and more?
I think it will be successful. We've just got to make sure that we're using it to fidelity and that we keep digging on it and keep working through it. It's been successful in lots of places. It's highly recommended.
I think it's dangerous for us to compare ourselves to other districts when we're looking at EOG scores, because there are so many variables that are involved. However, it is a standard measurement that all of us have to adhere to, right? And after we've had the conversation about, so what is the effectiveness of CKLA in other areas that are using it, I did some real quick research. I didn't get very deeply into it. Katrina mentioned Macon County, and in 3rd and 4th grade, they were 10 to 20% higher in proficiency after how many years?
This is their second year, so
After their
after that would be
second
the
year.
first
Now, I
one.
don't know what their starting place was, so that's not really fair. Now, their 5th grade proficiency was not as high as ours. But I think that is encouraging, that we're seeing that there, and we can look at others. Again, we have to be cautious with comparing those scores. There's just a lot of variability there.
Do you feel like there's any more training they need or anything we can do to help them?
I don't think at this point, any more PD would help at this point. We can look at that again as they get better at it, but I don't want to overwhelm them with do this, 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 and this. But being able to visit those schools, and one thing that we talked about the other day was being able to let teachers visit other classrooms within the school. So like Kelly Smith can cover your class while you go watch Lisa for a little while. Or I can, if they'll schedule me, I can go out and cover a class while they go watch another class. So I think that'll be, to me, that's the best professional development you can do. And so we're working on making sure that teachers can do that too. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you haven't heard about the concerns with heat at West, I don't know where you've been. Because there have been some significant concerns, particularly in the newer portion of the campus, which is interesting. One of the Daikin units has completely not been operating for several weeks. And we've been doing our best. Tommy and his crew have been trying to connect with Daikin and to get support and to get that fixed. And finally, on Thursday, we made the right connections, and we have a quote now that I have approved to get the parts and the service, so that hopefully in 2 to 3 weeks, we should have that resolved completely in the new building. It's interesting to me that the new system is not working as well as the old system. But there are still problems with the old system also that we're going to have to take care of as well. But I want you to know, and I want all of our public to know, that the parts are ordered and the service is coming. Okay? Because there's been some question about whether or not we've been doing our job, and we have. Okay? Tommy, we would be pleased to answer any questions that you have about that. If you have any or respond to any concerns.
Do all the classrooms have like supplemental heat now
Yes.
at this point?
Yes.
No, Schneider doesn't share any responsibility, right?
No. Now, Schneider has, in a conversation that we had with them last week, Schneider has informed us that they can help us with locating parts for things that we didn't know that was available. So we'll be accessing that because we've got a working relationship with them.
to the tune of several hundreds of dollars a whack.
Yes.
After we price some things that we have already spent money on.
But in the meantime, no rooms are too cold with the low temperatures.
You know, sometimes their temperatures will drop and immediately we'll make some adjustments. One of the rooms that we have been the most concerned about, that's not fair to say that we have been very concerned about, is actually at East. And it's been a long-term problem. But as we have been working with a particular contractor to resolve these issues, I put a work order in for them to go out to East, and they have found the problem, and the parts are ordered for that, and as soon as they're here, we'll have them in. And not only did we order enough parts for that, but we ordered several others just like it to have them on the shelves so that if it happens again somewhere else, we're ready to go.
My question would be more like towards the mechanical systems overall. Have we gone through and kind of done a scrub? You know, a lot of these systems are pretty old. It's probably not a if, but when they're gonna break. Is there something we can do from a, you know, just like we did with the rental car stuff? We probably need to look at going in and phasing out some of this equipment, even if it's not broken. Let's go ahead and fix it before it does.
I appreciate that, and Tommy and Brandon Burdette have already been talking about that same thing.
Okay.
And they're talking about the fact that what we need is a rotating replacement and renovation plan. And they're going to be putting that in place, probably along with some of our contractors, to find out exactly what it is that we need to do so that we don't end up like this again.
Sure.
Now, Casey, one of the other pieces that we have got to keep in mind, we can't let this fall off the plate is, or off the desk, is that the HVAC system, the environmental system, and the electrical system at the high school is overdue for work.
Okay.
And that needs to be, we already have an RFQ in place that we can release when appropriate to get companies to come in and look at that and say, this is what we can do and how much we think it'll cost.
And with, again, going back to those funds you mentioned earlier, the 500K and the 1.5 million that we get, I mean, that's eligible for
Yes,
these
it
kind of
is.
things.
And that's the intent of that funding, yes. Along with Article 46, that comes from our local taxpayers. Okay? So Tommy's got that plan, right?
It's not planned, we're working on it.
That's what I mean. You've got the plan, you've got a plan to make, this sounds like a Baptist church. We have a committee to operate committees.
I don't have anything to hand in today to show them what I think we should do.
No, but you have the plan to make that happen.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow. The answer is yes. It's good thinking. Anything else there? We found out last week that the state of North Carolina, not the state of North Carolina, Power School, who was our previous student information system, was hacked through a cyber attack, and some data has been compromised. We have released a statement about that came from the Department of Public Instruction, and it is on our website now. Okay? Karen, would you like to come? Would you come and just give us a little update? And actually, there's something going on right now that you're supposed to be part of. I'm sorry.
Basically, we were informed by Power School on January 7th, so last week, that they had a breach. Didn't know the extent, but it's not just North Carolina, but it looks like maybe system-wide for them. We did receive confirmation, though, from DPI this past Saturday that our data was part of the breach. As we understand it, Power School has been in contact with this group that has scavenged the data, and they have paid the ransom, basically, as I understand it. And they have been assured that the data has been destroyed, that it shouldn't be an issue, that sort of thing. However, we're kind of waiting on some more guidance from DPI and Power School to say, what does that mean? That basically is probably every student that's been in Swain County Schools at any point in time since 2013, and also any staff member that has worked here. Their data was probably in this breach. So, again, waiting to hear back from Power School to see if they will provide credit monitoring or whatever may be the next steps. We don't really know. So Any questions?
I'm sorry, I just want you to be aware, this is not our responsibility, it's theirs. I do want you to know that Karen and her team has put together a significant set of preliminary steps so that our data at our level is safe and protected, and that our staff is trained so that we sort of fairly well know how to anticipate whether or not what we're getting is a phishing scam or something like that.
As we
And-
understand it, it was compromised credentials. It was
Yeah.
malware on a support person at Powder School, and their credentials were compromised, and then it went from there, so.
They test us on it every now and then. So far, I've,
If you haven't done your
50%.
annual training, make sure to do that.
Thank you, ma'am.
those are all of the discussion items, unless there's anything else, Mr. White.
No, that's all I have.
Is it appropriate for us to move to action since we're going to have closed session at the end?
Yes, especially, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Can I please recommend that the Swain County Board of Education approve the consent agenda, including personnel and the minutes from the December 9th, 2024 meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, by show of hands. Pass unanimous.
Can I please recommend that the Swain County Board of Education approve the Tiber Creek contract as it has been presented to you for technology?
Motion.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, by show of hands. Passes.
Can I please recommend that the Swain County Board of Education approve the budget amendments as presented by Ms. Treadway?
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, by show of hands. Passes unanimous.
Can I please request, this is not in your agenda, can I please request that the board approve the resolution that will allow contract negotiations for wording to continue with LS3P, and that the adjustment to cost not be changed, and then the final approval come to the board once those are done?
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, by show of hands. Passes unanimous.
And can I please request that the board allow me to go to the commissioners and request a drawdown of $311,093.83 for the completion of the HVAC from the renovation and repair fund in Raleigh?
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, by show of hands. Passes unanimous.
When they approve of that, I will bring that back to you for your final approval for its expense, or for its drawdown, okay? All right? I believe that those are all of the action items. Please note those calendar events, and especially January 17th, there is a construction planning kickoff downstairs with Emily Kite and one of her colleagues. Whoever wants to come to that is welcome, okay? I will probably, Mr. White, need to say that that would be a work session for the board so that we can stay within legalities, okay? And I'll have that posted tomorrow. So anyone who wants to come. There will be no decisions, it's just discussion and planning, that's all, okay? Next Monday, January 20th, there is a trip planned to Jackson County, Georgia, to look at Legacy No Middle School with Carol Daniels. I don't know exactly what time the departure will be on that, but I'll find out. I have been advised that we not take the corporate jet from them, and I'm not being sarcastic in any way. They offered to fly us from Macon County to Georgia, but our attorneys said, that's not a good idea, okay? So we'll have to find a way to go otherwise. All right? Okay? And then there is also training that is planned for January 29th and 30th for the board. And then at the close of the training on the 30th, whoever is with us is going to travel, if you would please, to Hendersonville High School to look at the work of Vanoy on their high school. Okay? And after that, the committee will be ready, I think, to make a recommendation about which company to go with. Okay? All right? Do you need anything else to do between now and then? Make sure that you have on your calendars, March the 3rd, please. That is our combined meeting with Cherokee School Board. It's annual. This year it will be in Cherokee. It starts at 4:45.
Is it gonna be at their central office?
That's my understanding in their multipurpose room, yes.
Okay.
Is there anything else before we move to closed session? Can I please recommend that the Board of Education go to closed session?
I make a motion for the Board of Education to go into closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11 under subsection A1 to prevent disclosure of privileged or confidential personnel information pursuant to General Statute 115C-319-321.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, let's go ahead. We're going to closed session. We will adjourn from there,
Yes.
so I don't think there's any reason